Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the League Racing TV YouTube channel for round 7 of the Formula 2 season. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Commentus. I will be taking you through proceedings as always, and as always, joining me in the commentary box is Luke Etheridge. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Aidan. Hope you're all as well. Hope everyone watching at home is looking forward to what should always be, when no matter what you're racing in, Spa should always provide good racing.
Yeah, absolutely. As we come obviously into round 7 of the championship, we're heading into the latter stages, and Belgium is a real highlight of the calendar. It is one of the best tracks, real life and on game, and like you say, provides brilliant racing. Just before we get into qualifying, everyone's starting to ready up. So just before we get into qualifying, we'll run you through the championship standings after last time out in Hungary. So CRG Blizzard is back in the lead of the championship after a pretty solid round for him last time out, to say the least. Siege didn't have a bad run last time out, but just didn't quite have the pace of Blizzard throughout the whole of the round, so he drops back down into second place in the championship on 192 points. There's still only a 9 point gap between them. Another 31 points back to Guginio is currently running in third ahead of his Trident teammate Legend, who is in fourth. Behind him it is Graham, Scuba, Z3xer, Maze, Josh M97 and Honey Badger, who round off the top 10. And it's fair to say we've only got, I believe, 4 rounds to go, including this one. Blizzard and Siege at the moment seem to be the only ones really fighting for the title unless Guginio can pull something out of the bag.
Yeah, definitely. There's a few different groups, I think, here. You've got the to be honest, I'd say 3 people I expect to win the title. It's going to be one of Blizzard, Siege or Guginio. Then I think you've got the next group of a couple of people where I'd put Legend and Scuba. They still have a chance, but I think they're going to need those in front of them to mess up. Then there's like the third group of drivers that I think could have a say in the championship, but really haven't got any chance of winning it, is the pair of Honey Badger and Josh, who are much further down the order, 9th and 10th at the moment, but we've seen they've got multiple podiums, each of them, despite missing quite a few of the rounds, so they won't win the championship, but they could well get a few race victories and make it tougher for some of those like Guginio, Legend and Scuba to maybe close that gap up to the top.
Yeah, I really agree with you on that one, that it's kind of really split into packs at this point in the season. Guginio as well, he could have been a lot closer to the championship lead last time out, but made a mistake ultimately in the feature race that cost him the win in the end. Obviously there was a safety car in that race as well, which did affect the order, but again another small error from Guginio costing him quite a lot of points, and he's really got to iron that out before the season comes to a close, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt in his pace. In these F2 cars, over one lap, you can arguably say he's been the fastest driver this season. The 4 rounds he's been in, he's qualified on pole 3 times. He's won a race every round he's been in, 1 feature race win, 3 sprint race wins. He's got more wins than everyone else. It's just there always seems to be some mistake that happens in the feature race. I think if we go back to Azerbaijan, I believe it was Guginio who had the issue getting into the pit lane. He got a bit lucky with problems for his teammate. In Austria, I think he just did a good race. It was just, I think Siege just managed to get ahead of him on penalties. And then last time out, making a mistake, getting a penalty under I believe it was a virtual safety car conditions, and in the pit lane, just made it harder for him. So he needs to iron that out if he wants to really win the championship. He needs to start doing that tonight.
Yeah, he really does, and what a great opportunity to do so around Belgium. We're going to run on board with Graham for our qualifying lap around Spa today in the Prema car. He's qualified consistently in the top 10 this season and has been a real factor throughout a lot of races. Currently running 5th in the championship. Definitely say that he'd be happy with this season based on how his season last time out went, when we were TTL. But coming down straight now, coming up to the chicane. JD Nolan unfortunately has left the session, so fingers crossed he can join back before the race gets underway. But down to the end of the straight, and Graham currently running in the top 5 at the moment as we come into the chicane, the Legom chicane at the top of the hill, now dropping down the hill into probably one of the hardest corners on the track to get right. So easy to lock up the front right in here, a downhill braking zone into an off-camber hairpin. That's quite neat from Graham, but a little bit wide of the apex, so doesn't quite get the turn in he wants into the corner with no name. Nice and neat through there, so easy to invalidate on the outside, but Graham keeps it well away from the outside of the corner. Now into Poo on one of the, if not the most spectacular corner on the track. Down into 5th gear, a lot of mid-corner understeer from Graham, but keeps it on the road nicely. Now coming up into the next chicane on the track. Again, another corner really easy to get wrong, especially traction in the second part of the chicane. So easy to break traction on the curb, both on the inside and the outside. Again, very neat from Graham, but not using all of the road. Now coming into the final sector of the lap, it's currently Scuba running at the front of the field ahead of Coutinho. They are the two right at the front. Legend and Blizzard well down the field, so I wonder if maybe they've invalidated their times as we now come up to Blanchimont, a very, very fast corner. In qualifying, not really a corner you have to think about too much. It is completely flat out as Graham throws it in nicely, keeps it well away from the curbs, nice and neat. And now into the final bus stop chicane, see where he brakes just before the 100-metre board, gets it down the gears nicely into second, nice and neat on the curbs as well. Doesn't take a lot of inside curb there or outside curb as well, keeping it nice and neat. Graham's going to cross the line in the top 5 by the looks of things, but a great final sector from Coutinho, and once again, for the 4th time this season, Coutinho takes pole position.
Yeah, I suppose we shouldn't be surprised. Well, he just seems to be so good in these F2 cars, just needs to make sure he doesn't make a mistake. Again, Blizzard and Honey Badger a long way down the grid. 9th for Blizzard, 11th for Honey Badger. Legend in between them. He's a fast driver as well, so they're going to have to make their way up through the field, and a really big opportunity for Siege. We say this all the time. He just keeps it clean, keeps himself to himself, and always seems to be somewhere near the front of the field. And maybe tonight's going to be another one of them nights, especially in the feature race. If he gets a podium, I think it's going to be hard for maybe some of those other guys, because Coutinho and Scuba are two very quick drivers.
Yeah, and they are on the front of the grid. They're nearly a second clear of Siege in 3rd place. So Coutinho and Scuba seemingly having the pace in qualifying. Wesker qualifies 4th ahead of Graham in 5th. So again, 2 good results from them. And Blizzard down at the back of the field having disqualified his lap time, not setting a valid time in that session. He's got a lot of work to do. Luckily, the good thing is for Blizzard is that Spa is a relatively easy track to overtake on. And we've seen in previous rounds where Blizzard may have not qualified the best, he can overtake seemingly at any corner on every track. So at least invalidating the time here isn't too much of a disadvantage, just because of how easy it is to overtake here.
Yeah, certainly, and he's been the king of the alternate strategy so far this season. Blizzard used it to good effect last time to take the victory. It always seems to go for that, and it always seems to give him that fastest lap point in the feature race, because he's on the faster tyres towards the end, so it seems to rack up a lot of bonus points that way. Not necessarily the fastest over one lap. We haven't seen him get to pole position yet this season, but I think he'll definitely work his way up the order. We'll have to see how lap 1 goes for him. Maybe just have a bit of patience. It is an easier track to overtake on, but you don't want to be a bit silly in that first lap or two. Maybe just wait for the DRS down the Kemmel Straight, because it is so strong in Formula 1 cars and in Formula 2 cars down that Kemmel Straight. It's an advantage to be a few tenths behind someone going through the source, because you catch them up by the top of the hill and probably pass them going into Lacombe.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing to look out for as well, because Spa is such a long track, obviously we've got a bit of a shorter race this time around. It's only 13 laps because of how long the track is. Picking up damage, especially in the early phases of lap 1, could be massively detrimental around this track. He is very, very front limited, especially that middle sector of the lap. So keeping out of trouble on the first lap is going to be key to Blizzard's race. He is down in 9th, so let's have a look at everyone's tyre selection for this race. And actually, not that much of a mix this time around. Blizzard again has gone for the alternate strategy of starting on the medium tyres, as has Honey Badger, and that's it. Everyone else is starting on the soft tyres, so a lot of people seemingly not confident enough in that alternate strategy today.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that Blizzard and Honey Badger are the two people that are feeling more confident in that, feeling like at the end of the race they need to do some overtakes. I think they'll both be thinking that the few drivers ahead of them, especially Blizzard, no disrespect to Maze, Adamako, Z-Freakser, maybe even Graham as well, I'd still expect Blizzard to be able to go faster than them on the medium tyres. He just needs to get a good start. Luckily, it's not the longest run down to turn 1 at La Source, so if you get a worse start on the medium tyres, which you would expect, you're not going to lose as many places. And we didn't mention him that much, but Legend could be someone to watch out for. He seems to be improving as the season goes on. We'll have to see what he does. He'll be hoping that he doesn't get stuck behind Blizzard early on, and that he can maybe make his way up through the field as well.
Yeah, definitely. And Legend's improvement in form recently, I was just actually having a quick look at the Constructors' Championship going into this event. His recent improvement in form means that he's 4th in the Championship, and it's put Trident 2nd in the Teams Championship, only 11 points behind Carlin. So this is a really, really good opportunity for Trident to maybe steal back that Championship lead that I think they had pretty early on in the season, but a dip in form from Legend and Coutinho missing a couple of rounds meant that they dropped back behind Carlin and Dams as well, but they've worked their way 1 point ahead of Dams and are only 11 points behind Carlin, so great opportunity for Trident to get back in the lead of the Teams Championship.
Yeah, definitely. I think the two Trident drivers between them have actually done the least races out of the 3 main teams. I can't remember either of the Dams drivers missing a round. I know Blizzard's missed 1 round, and I think Coutinho's actually missed 2 rounds. So when you consider all that, they're still doing very well. I'd expect they've probably got the strongest second driver, have Trident in Legends. So as the season goes on, if they do all the races, I'd expect Trident to maybe just pull ahead. But it's been a very good qualifying, gotta say, this time around from Z-Freakser in the Carlin. He's in 6th place, and we know he can show some pace at sometimes, so we'll have to see what he can do to maybe help his teammate out today. Definitely,
and Z3X, his form has improved quite a lot recently as well, so we'll have to look out for him as the race goes on. But here we go then for the lights. Lights are on for the feature race. Who's going to get the best start here at Belgium? It's a long hole, but they are away for the start of the feature race, and it looks a fairly even start at the front of the field. Siege looks like he's had a good start in 3rd. Wesker's going backwards already. It looks like Z3Xer in the Carlin's had a good start, but through turn 1, very, very clean. Everyone looking nice and tidy through there. No contact further down the field, so Coutinho leads through La Source. Scuba currently running in 2nd place ahead of Siege in 1st. Wesker makes up for a poor start. He's all over the back of Siege for that final spot on the podium. Can he get a run maybe down into the Lacombe chicane? He's looking in behind Z3Xer, a little bit wide coming out of Radion, but he just about keeps it on the road. He's already past Graham as they now come down the straight, and Scuba's trying to get past Coutinho for the race lead. He's trying to go all the way around the outside. He's really, really late on the brakes. Coutinho holds the inside line but can't do anything about it. The momentum is with the Campos driver. Scuba takes the lead of the race away from Coutinho, but Coutinho trying to come back down the inside, down the hill. There's almost a 3 wide for the race lead. Siege trying to get in on this as well. Big lock up from Coutinho. Scuba leaves him the space. They just about get away with no contact, and I think Scuba's going to hold the inside line for No Name. Coutinho's going to try and drive it around the outside to see if he can pull that one off. They're still side by side as they now come down towards Poo1. Who's going to be brave into this corner? Does Scuba back out? Coutinho keeps it pinned around the outside, and Scuba has to back out of the move in the end. Coutinho retakes the lead with a bold move around the outside of Poo1. Scuba not giving it up, but he can't work his way through. Coutinho keeps the lead for the time being. Maze unfortunately has left the session. Fingers crossed he can join back in this one, but that means, oh, there's a yellow flag further back as well. Is that Honey Badger that's gone off the road? I think maybe Honey Badger's off and he's retired from the race, so one of the medium runners is already out, and that is, I believe, a full safety car. It is. So end of lap 1, we have a full safety car for Honey Badger retiring from the race. But what a first lap battle from Coutinho and Scuba, and Coutinho just about holds on to that race lead.
Yeah, definitely great driving, I must say, from Coutinho and Scuba. I think there was definitely a few opportunities where Scuba maybe could have been a bit harsher and left exactly 1 car width on the edge of the corner, but to be fair to him, he gave Coutinho his space, and Coutinho had the respect and had the nerve to try and hold it off around the outside. Such a shame to see Honey Badger crashing out at the campus chicane. It was a bit of a weird incident because he seemed a long way off into the wall there, so not quite sure what has happened. But really, after all that, there's not much change at the front of the field. Actually, no, Siege has dropped a long way down the order. We've just spotted Siege.
Oh yeah, wow, he has. I was just seeing on the timing screens that he was still in 3rd place, but obviously that's just a little bit of a glitch with the timing screens. But Siege just dropped right to the back of the field. He's behind his teammate, and he's only ahead of JD Nolan's lap car. So I don't know where we've missed that, but Siege just dropped all the way to the back of the field.
Yeah, the only yellow flag we saw was obviously because of Honey Badger's accident. And when I was watching the Coutinho and Scuba battle, from my point of view, Siege was right behind them. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there. But the overshot of it, Wesker's in 3rd position. He's another driver who has begun to show a bit more form lately. Got his best result so far this season in the feature race last time with a 4th. And now he's got a great chance of possibly maybe even getting his first podium.
Yeah, really, really good opportunity here for Wesker. C3 is up to 4th. He's up 2 places in the opening lap then. Up into 4th, doing a good job for Carlin. Graham in 5th. Adam Mako's had a good start. He's up into 6th place in the Charoo, not doing too badly. Legend in 7th. He's got ahead of Blizzard somewhere. So Blizzard didn't have the best of starts, but he's obviously made up for the fact that Honey Badger is out of the race and Siege has dropped to the back of the field. And he's passed May's AI car as well. So that's where Blizzard has gained places at least. But he's not really gained much in terms of where he overall started this race. So it's not been the best start for Blizzard. And just looking at the comment section as well in the stream, we've seen a message coming from Tom, which is Honey Badger. It seems that Blizzard may have come into contact with Honey Badger, so I wonder whether there might be an investigation looming over Blizzard's head.
Well, I've checked for Discord, and Blizzard has said, really sorry, Honey Badger, which part of that, I think, means, yes, it was my fault. If I apologise early, please, 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 please don't take me to the stewards. But yeah, Blizzard and Honey Badger, there's been some sort of coming together as Nolan has got a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Siege, and that will probably mean, obviously, that Siege has also got the same penalty. It's been a very interesting first couple of laps, and obviously, again, it's too early. We've seen this a lot this season. It's too early for them to come into the pits when the safety car has come out, so no one's really been able to take advantage of it, as Invictus is drifting his way through Blanchimont. I don't think he's done any damage to the car, but that is going to drop him down to the back of the field.
Wow, so Invictus makes a mistake behind the safety car, so that's seemingly 2 people then that have maybe made mistakes, because, like you said, I didn't see Siege go off the road before the safety car came out, so he must have made a mistake behind the safety car somewhere, and that's 2 people that have fallen foul of that now. So Invictus down to the back of the field, amazingly hasn't got any damage, so he can continue on in this race without having to come into the pit lane. We are now on lap 3, so if anyone wants to make their mandatory pit stop at the end of this lap, then they can do so, because it will be legal. And I wonder whether someone in the mid-pack might jump out of this queue of cars and pit and get some fresh air and just try and gain time while everyone else battles with each other.
If the safety car doesn't come in by the end of this lap, which I think it certainly would, I'd be thinking about pitting. Otherwise, I'd probably just stay out, because I think the mediums are going to be in such a bad state towards the end of the race, especially in that middle sector. And that's something we've not really talked about, the Spa circuit. We obviously have always mentioned what a great racetrack it is, but just how different the middle sector is from the first and the final sector. Maybe there's a few different drivers that have gone for different setups. I've seen it in other races where some cars have been absolutely lightning through the middle sector. They get to the top of the hill at Vadion, and it's just like they've put the handbrake on and everyone just comes streaming past them. And because we didn't really get to see a full lap, that's not something we've really got a vision of at the moment, just how the field might have set the cars up slightly differently to suit their own driving styles and to suit which part of the track they think they're best on. Normally, if you're quicker and you expect to be at the front of the field, and we see this a lot with Mercedes, you throw a bit more front wing on and rear wing and a bit more downforce through the higher speed corners, and that saves you a bit on tyre wear. Whereas if you're a bit further down the field, you might strip some of the wing off, take the pain in the middle sector, but know you'll be able to work your way up.
Yeah, definitely, and it did look like Scuba maybe is following that second philosophy of maybe going for a little bit lower wing and going for a faster straight line speed, because we saw the run he had on Coutinho down towards the Lake Com chicane in a Formula 2 car that doesn't have ERS or fuel modes in it, so he did that on just pure straight line speed and a slipstream, and that's without DRS as well. So it does look like Scuba maybe has the faster car in a straight line. It's whether he can use that straight line speed to get ahead of Coutinho by the time the race gets going. But the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap, so we will be back under racing for the start of lap 4. So let's wait and see what people do in terms of strategy. Let's see what Blizzard can do now. He's the only one on the alternate strategy, so let's see how he can improve on his position. Coutinho keeping a relatively high speed behind the safety car at the moment, trying to space the field out a little bit. He's not going quite yet. We've still got to wait for the safety car to come into the pit lane, and Coutinho's gone now, so he's gone just on the exit of the Blanchimont corner towards the bus stop chicane. Obviously you can't pass until the start finish line, but Coutinho has bolted already. Scuba really late on the brakes in the bus stop chicane though. He's going to be right tucked underneath the rear wing of that Trident as they start lap 4 of this race. No one's come into the pit lane, so everyone is staying out for the time being. Actually, as I say that, I think Siege is into the pit lane, so Siege has gone for something different. He's into the pits to put the medium tyres on already, and he's the only one committed to it, so he's trying something different after his mistake. But out of the source, Coutinho still leads, but again, Scuba has a good run coming out of the hairpin. Let's see if he can keep close to him through Eau Rouge and up Radion, and let's see if he can maybe get a move down into Les Combe Chicane and make it stick this time round. He's got a good run, but he's a little bit wide over the top of the hill. Let's see what his straight line speed is like in that Campos car. It's a little bit too much of a gap, it looks like. Coutinho driving all the way to the right hand side to try and break the toe of the Campos car behind, and Scuba can't quite get close enough to make a move on the Trident man, so Coutinho holds the lead for the time being. Further in behind, Adamako is side by side with Legend, I believe. Oh no, that's Adamako and Graham, sorry. Adamako trying to get past Graham but can't quite make the move stick, and Legend trying to capitalise on the two in front of them battling, and it doesn't look like any of them have really come away with a move. Blizzard looking down the inside of Legend, coming down the hill. He's got the inside line. Can Legend drive it all the way around the outside on the softer compounded tyres? Blizzard forces him out wide. Legend still down the inside. There's a little bit of contact, but once again people are driving side by side through No Name Corner, and Blizzard makes the move stick on Legend round the outside, is up into 7th place, and Blizzard already on the charge trying to work his way through the field.
Yeah, definitely. I'm surprised this early on he's actually managed to use the tyres to his advantage, because obviously being under the safety car, it's probably given everyone on the soft tyres an extra lap on those soft tyres. So probably not really what Blizzard would have wanted, but he's done pretty well at the moment. I think Legend will be hoping to fight back wherever possible. As you can see, there's a bit of a gap actually building. We've seen the front two, they've just gone off at the moment. Wesker's the next man, and then the Freakster and Graham aren't exactly hounding him at the moment, but Blizzard's had a fantastic exit, through Savalo. He's going to have the inside line for Blanchimont, and there's not going to be much Adamako can do about that.
Brilliant stuff from Blizzard. Again, a really, really good move. It looks like those medium tyres are performing pretty well. Adamako trying to come back at him, but he loses out to Legend in the process. Legend drives all the way around the outside of him into the bus stop chicane and takes 7th place. So Legend follows Blizzard through on Adamako. They both gain a place. So Blizzard now up into 6th place, trying to chase down Graham for a spot in the top 5. Meanwhile, race leader Scuba is tucked right underneath Coutinho. He's got really, really good pace in that car. Coutinho can't pull away at the moment. There's still no DRS yet. We're on lap 5. DRS still has not been enabled. So Scuba's just going to have to do this on pure straight line speed. Let's see the run he gets through the top of Radion. It looks pretty good. This time round, Scuba might be close enough to make a move. Coutinho driving on the racing line. Does he defend the inside line? Does he keep it on the racing line? Let's see what he does. He's moving a little bit to the middle of the road. Scuba not quite close enough to make a move though into Les Combe Chicane, so he sticks in behind for the time being. But Scuba at the moment seems to be the more confident of the two drivers and seems to have the faster package.
Yeah, Scuba definitely looks really racy, so wouldn't be surprised if we see pit stops though on this lap. Lap 5, just over the third distance, so might see a few drivers coming to the pits. The Siege is actually coming in again. This is he's
broken a front wing.
Front wing damage, yeah.
Wow.
It's a nightmare.
An absolute nightmare for second in the championship after starting right at the front of the field, spinning behind their safety car and picking up damage. 2 pit stops in the feature race already, so he's massively compromised. He's going to have to hope for another late safety car to bring him back into the action. Otherwise, he's just really going to be stuck down in 12th for the whole time. He will still pick up points for 12th place, but obviously Blizzard, his championship rival, currently running in 6th place, will continue to gain on him, and Coutinho in the lead of the race will start catching up, but Coutinho a little bit wide coming through Stavalo, and now Scuba's right on the back of him as they come up towards Blanchimont. He's looking to the inside for the Blanchimont corner. Coutinho keeps it on the outside. Scuba looking down the inside. There's almost contact through the kink before Blanchimont. Coutinho hits the grass ever so slightly. He's going to run a little bit wide. They're still side by side as they come up to the braking zone for the bus stop. Scuba trying to go all the way around the outside of the Trident man into the right-hander. Can he get the move done? No, he can't, and he tries to duck into the pit lane. He misjudges it, hits the side of Coutinho. He gets away with no damage, but Scuba at the last second deciding to come into the pit lane, and that's going to cost him a little bit of time to Coutinho. That kind of half-hearted move around the outside wasn't really worth it in the end.
To be honest, I don't get why you'd go for that move if you then know you're going to try and get in the pit lane, because it was obvious that the line to do that was not going to happen. I think it was Maldonado a few years ago was getting overtaken and then tried to dive in the pit lane and ended up taking out Paul Di Vesta. But Coutinho, he's in the lead of this race, hasn't really lost a lot in that battle, where I imagine Scuba will have actually lost quite a bit of time.
He's lost loads of time.
All that happening, as Blizzard now gets past his teammate Z Freakster, and that seemed like a fairly straightforward pass. Z Freakster knowing it's not worth holding him up. Legend getting ahead of Graham as well. So this could be this could actually be interesting for the Trident boys. Coutinho and Legend, neither of them pitting on that lap.
Oh yeah.
It was Legend who's going to be a big loser from that. He's either going to have to go on another lap and lose a lot of time, or lose probably even more time waiting for his teammate in the pits.
And we've seen this a couple of times already this season, that both Trident cars kind of sticking to the same strategy, and it really compromises them. I think we saw it in Baku, actually, in the feature race, and that kind of cost Legend loads of time in the pit lane, so we'll have to wait and see. Scuba lost a heap of time in that pit stop. He's now behind Wesker and Adamako. He's 8.5 seconds behind Wesker. I don't know if Scuba had a front wing change in that pit stop or not, but he didn't seem to have any damage. But he's lost heaps of time, and at the moment he's well out of podium contention, so he's going to have to try and work his way back forwards. And Blizzard is catching Coutinho at a vast rate of knots, at least a second already on this lap, faster than Coutinho in front. So Blizzard's race pace around Spa is really good, and he's not at the moment. He's still in contention for this race win.
Definitely, we probably shouldn't even be surprised by now. We know Blizzard comes so good in the race as Coutinho heads into the pit, so that will give Blizzard the lead of this race. And yeah, Legends had to stay out because of that, so he's really going to suffer on this lap. Will drop back behind Graham, possibly even back behind Adamako, as well as Nolan. I just quickly went on board. I think he nearly crashed into the pit lanes, but managed to get away with that without any damage. But gets himself a speeding penalty, and this is going to be interesting now. I've got to say, I think the race is between Coutinho and Blizzard.
It does look like that, yeah. Scuba's slow pit stop has really dropped him out of contention. Wesker's coming down the pit lane. Wesker's still not out of a fight for third on the podium at the moment. He's looking dead set for a podium, at least in this race. Coutinho's going to come out of the pit lane really sideways, just about holds onto the car, and he's clear enough ahead of Wesker to keep that third place on the road for the time being. Wesker not close enough to challenge. Yuthuxa, meanwhile, comes out clean in 5th place. Adamako just able to get past Graham down towards Eau Rouge and up Radion. So Adamako's up into 6th place, but Graham will have DRS on the car in front, so can Graham get back past the Charu car and up into 6th place, which will be 5th when Legend and Blizzard come into the pit lane, I believe. So let's see where Graham, does he go for the move on the inside of Lecom? He does look down the inside. Adamako doesn't defend it. Oh, there's a bit of contact though. Adamako turns into the corner, doesn't leave Graham a lot of room, and Graham had to back out of the move, and Invictus has crashed at the top of the hill. So if that brings out another safety car, which it does, is brought out a full safety car, this is played massively into Blizzard and Legend's hands.
Oh, definitely. This could work out absolutely fantastically for them, because obviously the safety car isn't going to pick either of them up, so everyone's driving around at the same speed. Blizzard, it'll be able to see, because Legend's done 7 laps on the soft tyres, some of them under the safety car. Blizzard's only going to have to do 6. I've got to say, this hands him the race victory, and possibly, we were talking about how Trident's strategy seems to have shot them in the foot. It's accidentally worked out absolutely brilliantly for Legend. He'll have a nice quick pit stop, he'll come out in 2nd position, but Blizzard on those soft tyres, it's going to be a big ask for anyone to beat him.
It's a tall order. Blizzard's going to have to make a mistake in this race for really anything to happen. And again, Coutinho gets unlucky in a feature race. How many times have we seen it this season where Coutinho looks dead set to win the feature race and something happens that just costs him the win? And it looks like it's happened again for him. He's going to stay in 3rd place. Blizzard and Legend into the pit lane already. Blizzard's already down in his pit box, so he'll be well out ahead of Coutinho, I believe, by the time they come out of the pit lane. Let's wait and see. Blizzard dropped off of his jacks now as he leaves the pit box, so he should come out comfortably in the lead of this race. Legend's going to come out as well. I think Legend might be behind his teammate here, actually. He might not have the speed down the pit lane to get ahead of his teammates. But Blizzard out in the race lead, comfortably out in the race lead. Coutinho rounds turn 1. Where's Legend going to feature in all this? Legend comes out of the pit lane and he's going to be just behind his teammate, I believe. So Coutinho just about able to get ahead of his Trident teammate down in the behind the safety car. But Legend now up into 3rd from the back of the grid, and Blizzard up into the lead on the alternate strategy. This is going to be a massive order for Coutinho to pull this one off. He's going to have to do something at the restart.
Yeah, most certainly. Interestingly, we're seeing a few other pit stops as well. Scuba, after losing out all that time, he's coming to the pits and put the soft tyres on. I think Maze is thinking about doing the same, and I wonder if Siege might think about coming in for a 3rd pit stop and putting the soft tyres on as well, because he's in last place at the moment. He's got absolutely nothing to lose. He might as well try something a bit different, because if he sticks on these mediums, he's probably not got any chance of getting a serious amount of points from this race, or getting into that top 8 to obviously get the reverse grid benefits.
Yeah, Siege has to do something to try and salvage this event. So far it's really not gone his way, but this is the safety car we were talking about. This is exactly what Siege needed to get back in this race, and because Siege is quite a ways off the back of the queue of cars, the safety car is going to be out be out for quite a while. I'd say probably at least another 2 laps in this race. So we might not get going again until maybe lap 10, lap 11 in this one. So that helps Blizzard, Scubat, Maze and Siege now all on the soft tyres even more, because they have less distance to travel on those soft tyres. And we know that just on pure pace alone, the pace advantage you have on the soft tyres is pretty big compared to the harder compounds here. And in terms of confidence as well, being able to have the confidence to push on the soft tyres compared to the mediums is much, much higher. So advantage swinging towards them as well. We'll have to see whether Siege can get up into reverse grid position, which is currently held by JD Nolan. So while JD Nolan lagged out of the session before the race even begun, he's now in reverse grid pole position. So if he can hold on to that, that's somewhat of a good recovery from JD.
Yeah, he's just kept himself to himself in this race, hasn't really made any mistakes, has benefited from now Invictus's mistake, obviously what Scuba did at the first pit stop when he had that strange attempt to spy him past Coutinho. Now that Maze and Siege and Scuba have all made them multiple pit stops, he's got himself a long way up, and I think Honey Badger must be watching this and wondering at what point in his life has he broke a mirror recently. Nothing has gone well for him this season, and now he's got to watch the man who's had an incident with him on lap 1, we can say that with some certainty, lead the race and probably go forward to one of the easiest wins Blizzard's going to have for a long, long time.
Yeah, this does look dead set for Blizzard, and like you say, Honey Badger is going to be ruined. The luck that Honey Badger's had this season. It's fair to say Honey Badger's been very, very fast. He's made a few mistakes himself this season, but he's also had nowhere near the amount of luck that some people have had in this grid. He's probably been one of the unluckiest drivers of the season. Was champion in Formula 2 a couple of seasons back in pretty dominant fashion. This time round, struggling to keep it inside the top 10 in points. So it's really, really not gone his way. And again, another DNF in a feature race. And he's going to have to start the sprint race from 13th on the grid. So he's going to have to make amazing comeback drive to score some decent points now in this event and keep himself inside the top 10. Looking at the rest of the field then, the rest of the people that are out on the mediums at the moment, Wesker currently in 4th ahead of Z3 in 5th and Adam Acko in 6th place. Wesker must be thinking, how lucky does he have to be to try and get on the podium? He looked dead set for a 3rd place here at least, and now he's going to have to try and get onto the podium ahead of Legend, and he's currently stuck in 4th.
Yeah, and he's going to have older tyres once we get to the restart. Him and Adam Acko were some of the first to pit onto the medium tyres, and they struggle more to heat up. The older tyres struggle, and the harder tyres struggle to heat up as well. So he could be in a bit of trouble once the safety car start comes into the pits, maybe from Z3 and Adam Acko again from Graham and Nolan, and then obviously all the soft tyre runners that he has got behind him. Probably not going to be this lap either when the safety car comes in, because Siege is only just coming around Lacombe and Malmedy, and the safety cars through Poohon and up towards the campus chicane. So another lap under the safety car, that's going to give us 3 laps of racing action. Only one of those where they're going to have the DRS. It could get pretty crazy, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see another couple of broken front wings before this feature race is out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised myself either, and obviously with a lack of DRS towards the end of this race that we are going to have means that Scuba, Maze and Siege have got to make their moves as early as possible, because they just won't have the time left in this race to wait around and wait for a mistake from people in front, so they're going to have to make the move stick as quickly as possible. It's going to be really interesting as well to see how far up Scuba can get. We know the pace he has, and he looked faster than Coutinho before his pit stop, so Scuba may be looking to try and get back in the top 5 in this race. Where do you think Scuba could end up here?
I think top 5 is very realistic, maybe even top 4, maybe even getting ahead of Wesker. I think the podium will probably be the same order that it is at the moment. Blizzard, Coutinho and Legend. We'll have to just see how decisive Scuba can be. We know he's not afraid to try some interesting moves. We saw him have that great battle with Coutinho. I think anything less than 6th he'll be disappointed with. I think he'll be aiming for that 4th position. Siege might actually, he'll just be thinking, right, just getting into the top 8 here, get that reverse grid pole for the sprint race, and then just try to get away. But obviously, he'll be wanting to get as many points in the feature race as possible as well.
Yeah, and he's going to be hoping for some bad luck for our race leader at the moment, Blizzard. So Siege has now caught up to the back of the safety car queue, so I think we should be in at the end of this lap. That will give us 3 laps of racing towards the end. 2 safety cars in a feature race. I think that's the first time we've had that this season. And at the moment, I think Bert Myland has led more laps than anyone else so far in today's race. The safety with how long the safety car's been out so far. But yeah, Blizzard in the lead of the race on the softer compound of tyres that haven't really even been pushed in this race yet. They're still going to be very, very fresh by the time we get going. Coutinho down to second. Again, just the luck not falling his way in the Trident. He's now was looking to try and win this race. He's now down in second on an older, harder compound of tyres. And another feature race is looking to get away from him. Legend up to third in the other Trident. Even with Coutinho's bad luck, this is great for Trident in their teams championship. They're now running second and third, so this could put them back in the lead.
Yeah, most definitely. I think what this feature race is also doing, we spoke about the different groups that the championship is sort of in, it probably really makes it just too much of a task for Scuba. With 7 races to go after this one, I can't see Blizzard and Coutinho having bad enough rounds. And obviously for Siege, this has been absolutely devastating at the moment. He's going to drop a long way off the back of those two. He's currently in second place, and this might actually... Just going to try and have a quick look. It won't drop him behind Coutinho, but it'll make it a lot closer between those two. So Blizzard, the big winner at this moment in time. He's probably, as we said, going to be the winner of this race. Safety car is coming in this lap. You wouldn't expect the restart to be a problem for Blizzard here, and we know Coutinho went very early. I imagine we'll see the Carlin driver do the same.
Yeah, imagine he'll probably pull the same strategy as Coutinho then and go a little bit earlier, try and break the field up a little bit, form some bigger gaps. Coutinho, if he wants to try and win this race, has got to make something happen at the safety car restart. He can't wait for the DRS at the end because Blizzard has the tyre advantage and he will just pull away. So Coutinho's got to get it done as soon as possible if he wants to try and win this race. JD Nolan's picked up a time penalty for a collision with Graham behind the safety car. Blizzard hasn't gone yet. He's waited a little bit longer this time round. The safety car is into the pit lane. It looks like Blizzard's going to go after the bus stop chicane. He's waiting until the last moment. They're in the braking zone for bus stop now. When does Blizzard go? Does he floor the car here? No, he doesn't. He's taking a bit of a wider line through the final corner, and he's going to go now. So he goes right on the exit of the bus stop, and that gives Coutinho a good run at him down towards the first corner. He's not going to be quite close enough to Blizzard, though, to capitalise on that. So Blizzard still leads the way ahead of Coutinho. Legend, Wesker, Z3, Adamako, Graham, and JD Nolan round off the top 8 at the moment. Scuba, Bays, and Siege, the soft runners at the back of the field, and Siege already trying to get past his teammate down the hill, down the run towards Eau Rouge, but he's not quite close enough to make the move. Stick Blizzard up through Eau Rouge and Radion up the top of the hill. Coutinho's had a brilliant run through Radion. Can he try and get past Blizzard down towards the Les Combes chicane? He's got great straight line speed. Blizzard has to go to the inside of the track. Coutinho looking towards the outside. Does he go for a late move? He brakes really, really late, trying to force his way around the outside, but doesn't have the grip or the momentum to pull it off. He stays in second. That was probably one of his only chances to get the move done, and he couldn't quite get it done, so Blizzard holds the lead for the time being. They pull away from Legend, who's currently in third place. Siege just worked his way past his teammate. Scuba side of JD Nolan towards the bottom of the hill. He's going to look down the inside. JD Nolan leaves in the room. Scuba's going to squeeze his way to the inside, round the outside of No Name. We've seen this already from Scuba in this race, trying to work this move round the outside. It's not quite worked. JD Nolan still on the inside. The hand goes up from Scuba after a little bit of contact into Poo on. Scuba trying to go all the way around the outside, but there's contact with JD Nolan. Nolan holds the car. A big slide from JD Nolan. He just holds on to it, but he now drops down to 10th, and Siege is up into 9th place. Scuba up into 8th, so they're already making their way through the field.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was just a bit Nolan, colder tyres, maybe just understeering into Puhon, unfortunately for him. Coutinho, he tried his best. Blizzard was very smart with that restart. And then I think just the extra traction out of La Source was the difference. If Blizzard had got a slightly worse exit, Coutinho would have been right on top of him at the top of the hill, and maybe things would be slightly different. So it does look as though those first three...
Oh, here comes Graham, meanwhile.
Wesker's dropped back a bit, and as you said, Graham and Adamako, they're now going side by side through Blanchimont. Adamako just trying to force Graham wide slightly, but Graham has the inside line for the bus stop chicane. Adamako, though, has been able to hold it around the outside. Now Graham's holding it around the outside at the second point, and he'll get the traction out of the corner. So that is Graham up into 6th position. But what all this battling's done, it has stretched the gaps out at the front of the field. It
really has. Idriksa, meanwhile, he's picked up, I think, 2 time penalties in this race already, so he's at risk of falling outside of the top 8 at the moment. Currently running in 5th, hasn't got a big enough gap to the drivers behind. Adamako trying to get another run up the hill behind Graham. He's got a brilliant run through Radion. He nearly spun the car on the curb there, just about holds on to it, but he's right tucked up behind the Prema, coming down the lake, down towards the Les Combes chicane. Graham holds it right to the inside line. Adamako trying to go around the outside. Graham moves back to the middle of the road. Graham will have the inside line. Adamako tries to drive all the way round the outside and pulls the move off. brilliant stuff from Adamako. He's back up into 6th place. Graham now under pressure from Scuba, who's trying to work his way forwards even further in this race. Still stuck in 8th at the moment. That lack of DRS not helping him at all. Trying to work his way maybe around the outside coming into No Name, but doesn't quite have the grip to pull it off. So Scuba stays at 8th for the time being, but a good move from Adamako to move himself back up into 6th place, which will become 5th when C3 serves his penalty. Scuba looking towards the inside, towards Puon, but backs out of the move at the last moment. Doesn't have the confidence to stick it up the inside of that corner.
Yeah, I think he was just thinking about what happened to Nolan the lap before. If he just drifts out slightly in the dirty air, he's probably going to be the car getting spun around, and that would not only drop him a points position, but drop him 8 positions provisionally on the grid for the sprint race at the moment. But he's really struggling to get past Graham, although as I say that, Graham's gone very deep there, and that's going to be straightforward for Scuba. So he now moves up into 7th position. Graham trying to hold it off around the outside. There's a bit of gravel on the exit of that corner, and Graham very lucky not to end up in retirement there. He drops back behind Siege, who after all that has got a fantastic run here on Scuba. These two are going to be having a great battle on the final lap.
Let's see if Siege can pull this move off round the outside of the bus stop chicane. Scuba baits very, very late, just holds on to the move for the time being, so Siege stays in 8th, but that is reverse grid pole for the 2nd place man in the championship at the moment. He's doing enough to win him some points back in the sprint race. We're on to the final lap. Blizzard leads, but only by 1.5 seconds, so Kuginio's done his best to try and keep as close to Blizzard as possible. It's not quite going to come together for him, though. They have completely dropped Legend, who's now running in 3rd ahead of Wesker in 4th, but C3 is closing in on Wesker for that 4th place. At the moment, it's all a little bit in vain, because C3 does have a couple of time penalties, and I don't believe Wesker has any. So Wesker just trying to pass him for 4th place on the road. Is going to look to the outside coming towards the Lake Com chicane. Once again, this move has been so popular in this race so far, and C3 has the DRS to try and pull it off. Wesker keeps it down the inside, but isn't far enough alongside to make that stick. So C3 up into 4th place. Good move from him. Meanwhile, further back, Siege pulls the same move off, and Scuba, and actually it's Siege making the progress, and he's up into 7th place. But Scuba trying to work his way back down the inside, down the hill, but he's just not close enough. Siege up into 7th.
Yeah, Siege up into 7th. Wesker's managed to fight back at Z-Freaks, so that puts Wesker up into 4th, and Z-Freaks actually has 9 seconds, I believe, of penalties, which, assuming everyone else behind him is clear, will actually drop him down to last place. So penalties could really cost for Dam's driver at this moment in time. And what Siege and Scuba's battle is doing is means Graham's not really lost contact, so maybe we could even see a move from him if these two get very close together in the final couple of corners. One driver who's not had to worry about anyone getting close to him since the restart is Blizzard, and it's going to be a 2nd feature race victory in a row if he could just negotiate Blanchimont and the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, 2nd feature race win in the row. He's coming up to bus stop now. It's crazy to think that this would be, I think, his only 3rd race win of the season, but he's done it in dominant fashion with a little bit of luck from the safety car, but it has worked in his favour. He has a massive rear lock into the bus stop, but he's far enough ahead of Kuginio to not need to worry about that. He comes out of the final corner. 2 feature race wins in a row for Blizzard. He wins at Belgium. Kuginio is going to cross the line less than a second behind in 2nd place. Legend will cross the line and take the final step on the podium. Wesker crosses the line in 4th ahead of Z3, who's going to drop back on those penalties. Where does he drop to? He drops to 9th for the time being. JD Nolan crosses the line in 10th. I think Mays might have jumped the pair of them on penalties in the end. So JD Nolan drops to 11th, C3 drops to 10th, and I think Siege ended up in 5th place on penalties.
Yeah, great comeback from Siege. Great comeback from Scuba as well, to be honest. And Kuginio out at front. He'll be slightly happy with 2nd place, but he'll be bittersweet. He knows he had a fantastic chance to take the victory in that race. It was just ruined by the safety car. Will obviously start 1 place ahead of Blizzard in the sprint race, but you'd expect, given the pace they showed at the end of that one, you'd expect Scuba and Siege to be pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely, and I was a little bit shocked there, actually. I would have thought that Scuba would be the one working his way forwards, but in the end, it was Siege that gained the most places on those soft tyres at the end, even with a poor restart stuck behind his Dam's teammate. So Siege looking very confident on those soft tyres at the end. But here is the feature race results for everyone. It's the race win for Blizzard. It says Mays has won the race, but he's said that he's a lap ahead of everyone, so that one won't count. Mays hasn't actually won the race, everyone, so don't worry about that one. So Blizzard it is that wins the race ahead of Kuginio in 2nd, Legend in 3rd, Wesker 4th ahead of Siege in 5th in the end at that race. Scuba will take 6th ahead of Graham in 7th, Adamako 8th. That means Zitrixa is in 9th ahead of JD Nolan 10th. Invictus and Honey Badger did not finish the race in the end, and unfortunately I think that glitch for Mays now being right at the front of the field means that Adamaka is going to miss out on the reverse grid pole that he earned.
Oh, I would not be happy at that if I was Adamaka. I'd be pretty damn furious that he, like you said, he had that pole position and it's been taken away from him. What it's done for the top 7 is just bumped them all up one place on the grid, so they'll be fairly happy with that. They, as Jose Mourinho said, if I speak, I'm going to get in big trouble. If I speak, Codemasters will probably delete my game account off them. Oh, and we're going to have a wet. We're going to have a wet sprint race. I think this might be the first wet race we've had all season.
I want to say that, yeah. I think it might be the first wet race we've had, actually. I think I agree. I think it is. I'm just trying to cast my mind back throughout the rounds we've had so far, and yeah, I think we had rain at the end of one of the sprint races, but it didn't actually affect the conditions in the end. It was just a light spit that didn't really make any difference. But this, I think, will be the first race this season where we actually see the full wet tyres, which will be interesting to see. Mays has left the session, unfortunately, so fingers crossed he can get back in before the race starts. Let's see what the grid order is when they line up. It technically should be Adamako on reverse grid pole after that race, but we'll have to wait and see what he does, or what the game does, to see where he ends up on the grid. Otherwise, we might be having a little bit of a lobby restart for the sprint race. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure whether they will be able to do that just because of the length of the sprint race. So here comes the start of the grid. Then let's see who lines up on pole position. Is it going to be Adamako? Is it Graham? I think it's Graham. Yeah, so Adamako, with a glitch from Codemasters' end, Adamako's missed out on reverse grid pole.
Yeah, he's gonna be a bit frustrated with that. He's gonna have the bit between his teeth to try and work his way back up the order. Obviously, this could be very interesting indeed. Now that we've got the wet conditions here, 9 laps, tyre wear won't be an issue. This is gonna be so tricky for some of these drivers coming up Eau Rouge and Radion. A lot less downforce, a lot less grit on the F2 cars. Graham nearly losing it on the formation lap just to prove the point, and this race could ruin a lot of people's seasons and also possibly get a few back on track.
It really could. Let's see who's going to be the master of the wet conditions. Obviously, we haven't had a wet race, like we said, which means that this will be the first time we find out who's actually good in the wet conditions. And Belgium in the wet conditions, at the best of times, is incredibly difficult to master just with the undulation in the track. So easy to get caught out in the rises and falls around this circuit, especially this braking zone here we come into now with Graham. That braking zone in the dry is hard enough to master, but in the wet, that's going to be really difficult to get the cars stopped. And obviously, looking by the conditions as well, this is what you would say is pretty low intermediate conditions for Formula 1 cars, but obviously there are no intermediate tyres for Formula 2, which makes it that little bit harder.
Yeah, it's really difficult for these guys. They have to just cope with the full wet tyres. So when I said tyre wear won't be an issue, unless the rain starts getting lighter, these wet tyres are just going to burn out so quickly. What it does mean is the overlap is a lot more awkward than it is in Formula 1, because you'll probably have conditions where it's way too wet for the slick tyres and just way too dry for the wet. So you have a choice between sliding off a track because you've got no grip between the surface of the tyre and the road, or sliding off the track because you've absolutely cooked for tread block. It's going to be very tricky in 9 laps. We've already seen quite a few cars, I think, on this formation lap struggle with the grip levels. This could be a lot about this race, maybe just driving at 90-95% and making sure you get to the end without any spins and without any penalties.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. And Victus has had a spin on the formation lap. He spun coming up towards Stavolo, so he's dropped the car on the formation lap. I think JD Nolan dropped the car, as did Siege. I think Siege dropped the car coming out of Radion. He just about held on to it, but already he's showing that it's difficult to control, and especially up Eau Rouge. That is going to be the main point on this track, where holding onto the car is going to be incredibly difficult, isn't it?
Definitely, especially on this first lap when they were a bit heavier, and no one does as much practice in the wet as you do with dry. You probably do a bit more around Spa, Silverstone, Zandvoort, a few circuits like that, because it's much more common. But most of the time, you're in the dry conditions. F2 people probably do a bit less practice for anyway. Wouldn't surprise me if a few of these guys have never driven in race conditions in an F2 car in the wet at Spa. So this could be very tricky indeed. Those at the back won't want to get caught up in anyone else's incident. Someone could spin in front of them and it could be game over for drivers such as Honey Badger. It could be all go horribly wrong for him again. He'll be hoping it doesn't. As we get ready for the sprint race here then at Spa, the lights are coming on under the rain clouds in the Ardennes Mountains. Who's going to come out on top tonight then? And we are underway, and it's a decent start so far from Graham. Just gets a bit of wheel spin. On the second stage, we've got a car spinning round in the background. I think that is Legend, as Scuba's now trying to just drive it all the way around the outside of Graham, and he's been able to do so. Great grip there by Scuba, taking a different line, and it's worked out absolutely perfectly for him. So he has the lead of this race. Graham in second. Wesker all over the back of Graham at this moment in time. I think Mays has dropped down. I think he's had a slight spin, although I'm not sure if he's actually back in control of his car yet. Invictus has had problems as well, so they've all... We'll wait for Invictus to get up the top before I say they've all got through cleanly through Eau Rouge and Radion. They seem to have done that. Great start from...
Big crash for Honey Badger. Sorry to jump in there. Massive crash for Honey Badger. I don't know who he came into contact with, but he was well out of control before the Lacombe chicane and has whacked the wall massively, and he's out of the session again. What luck Honey Badger has. 2 races in a row where he's out with a massive crash at the top of the hill.
Yeah, just such a shame for him, and I said that's the thing. He can easily get involved in someone else's incident, so he's not even managed to complete a full lap today. No points. He'll be absolutely gutted. Hopefully we'll see him back at Monza, because the luck he's had at the moment in this series is enough to make anyone wonder why they keep bothering. Blizzard, though, he's had a fantastic opening lap as Graham's had to go wide at Pouhon, and that's going to force him over the runoff area. That's going to allow Siege to get ahead, and Z Freakso wouldn't surprise me if he gets a much better line through the chicane as well. But as I was just saying, Blizzard's had an absolutely fantastic start. Courinho with a decent one as well. We've got another yellow flag, and I think that's Invictus, who's had a spin here. Only one retirement so far, and Scuba, he's just getting away. He's just got to think about trying to get the win here. Just get away, don't get involved in anyone else's battles.
Yeah, Blizzard is absolutely flying. He's already caught Wesker. He's trying to make a move coming up towards Blanchimont round the outside. Look at the straight line speed he's got in the wet conditions. He goes all the way around the outside of the Arden and up into second place. So Blizzard from 7th on the grid is up into second place already. Brilliant stuff from him. Coutinho trying to follow him through, but isn't close enough to challenge into the bus stop. Invictus has spun the car coming through Stavolo, and he's retired from the session. So I wonder if that brings out any sort of virtual or full safety car. Adam Acko has dropped the car in the braking zone for the bus stop as well. So we've had a number of people with contact early on in this race. Legend obviously contact before turn 1, so he's spun well out of contention before this race even got going really. But now at the end of lap 1, it is Scuba in the race lead. Blizzard is up into second place, and Wesker is directly behind him. Can Wesker get a move back down towards Lacombe? But Wesker takes a really awkward line through the top of the hill. He can't get that car through the corner neatly. Coutinho though made a mistake himself at the top of Radion, so can't get the run on the BWT Arden car in front of him either, so Coutinho stays in 4th place for the time being. Wesker trying to work his way back through, and we have a full safety car again, our 3rd full safety car of the night coming in the sprint race. Adamako unfortunately has retired in the pit lane, and I believe the safety car was for JD Nolan and Invictus's car, so we are already down to 9 people in this race. It's fair to say that opening lap has been a real test for these drivers.
Yeah, definitely. So tricky conditions, and I think it's exactly like you said. This would be easier if it was raining a lot harder. I think they'd find more grip at this moment in time. Maybe the tyres aren't coping, and it doesn't look like we're going to get to a stage where we're going to see full dry conditions. I can't see any tiny bits of light poking through the clouds, but not exactly what you'd say any blue sky appearing around here. This is exactly what Scuba didn't want, though. Given the pace that Blizzard has shown on that first lap, he's got a fantastic chance of doing the double, and he'll be the first person, obviously, to do that this season. It's allowed Coutinho to close up slightly as well. Legend, probably, he's absolutely delighted about this. He had a terrible start, just got way too much wheel spin, got very lucky that he didn't get collected by anyone. Now he's going to catch up to the back of the pack and have another chance in this race with what will probably be about 5, maybe 6 laps to go.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. The safety car will probably stay out for about 2 laps because everyone is pretty close. I wonder if anyone has damage or maybe will come in for a new set of wet tyres just to maybe give himself a little bit of an advantage. I imagine Legend might try and do that just because he is running in last place on the track at the moment, so he may as well try anything to give him an advantage. Pulsitter Graham has had an absolutely woeful start to this race. He's down into 7th, just did not have the confidence, couldn't keep the car on the road in really any of the corners, and we saw him have a massive moment at Pouhon. Another person that had a good start though was Wesker. Wesker, I believe, was, if I'm not mistaken, was 4th on the grid up to 2nd. Blizzard obviously passed him at the end of the first lap, but he had a really good start in the Arden, so he's looking confident in these wet conditions. Siege couldn't capitalise on his favourable grid slot. He was at the front on the 2nd row, and he's already behind both Blizzard and Coutinho.
Yeah, just wonder maybe whether he's made a mistake with his setup for these wet conditions. The Legend has done exactly what you said. He's going to come into the pit lane. Can't see whether there's a front wing. There is actually a front wing waiting for him. So Legend did obviously pick up probably just a minor bit of damage, and he's thought, I'm in last place under the safety car, get a new front wing, get fresh tyres. This could be oh so important by the end of the race.
Yeah, definitely. Any sort of small advantage you have is definitely a good thing to have in these wet conditions, especially like you say, if it does start to dry out as the race goes on, the wet tyres will massively burn out just because there's barely any contact patch from the tyre onto the road. So you put a lot of real force into these tyres in the dry conditions, and it just burns the tyres out completely. So let's see if Legend can. Maybe if that does happen, Legend might be able to get to the end of the race with no tyre problems at all, when it does look like the rain is easing off ever so slightly. So even with the safety car coming out, I wouldn't be shocked to see maybe if some people might try and go for a dry set of tyres by the end of the race.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe we might even see if someone's really brave, as I think actually the rain stops. If the safety car stays out another lap, someone might think at the end of this lap, I'm coming in for the dry tyres. You put a set of soft tyres on, they'll get heated up pretty damn quickly, and you could be in a fantastic situation here. It's worth it for some of those lower down the order. You could possibly even say it's worth it for anyone but the top two at this moment in time. Might just think about going for it. If it goes right, you're probably going to end up winning this race, so it's always worth a shot. Even if the safety car does come in at the end of this lap, you'll have a bit of extra time, but I think it will be going out a lap longer. So if I was some of those a bit further back, I think Legend at the moment, he might be the person to watch, because he's just got to catch up to the back of the pack at the moment, and it doesn't look as though he's able to possibly push as much as you'd expect him to on fresh, wet tyres. I think we're going to see a few drivers come into the pits now, put the soft tyres on, try to get to the end of the race on those. They've got to be careful when they're catching back up to the pack, but obviously they'll be nice and warm when everyone else might have to dive into the pits.
Yeah, just looking on board with Legend, it does look like you say, it has stopped raining by the looks of things. So is anyone coming in? Scuba's in. It's race leader. Scuba's committed to the pit lane. Wesker's in. Siege has stayed out. Coutinho's into the pit lane. A lot of people coming in. Blizzard, Siege, and Maze have all stayed out on the track, so they're the only ones staying out on the wet tyres, and this is very, very risky. They're going to have to hope that the rain comes down again, or that the soft tyres have absolutely no grip at all. Scuba's put the medium tyres on. That's really not a good choice from him. Wesker's on the mediums as well. Who goes for the softs? Coutinho's on the soft tyres. Surely Coutinho is in a great position to try and win this race.
Yeah, and I think about it, was Scuba put an extra set of softs on at the end of the last race, didn't he? So he's probably not got any fresh softs left. Probably didn't have any choice. Maybe just a few drivers feel a bit more confident on those medium tyres, or they think it's a bit borderline, but you should be able to do 3 laps. It's going to be a bit cooler than normal. Obviously, we haven't got any of the sun there, and we'll have to see how this lap goes for some of these guys. Coming up through Eau Rouge and Madion could be a bit dicey on their first run, but it looks like everyone has made that through cleanly so far. This could be a big mistake. 2 of the 3 main championship protagonists that I thought before this race, Blizzard, Siege and Coutinho, have stayed out. The safety car last time probably cost Coutinho a race win. On those soft tyres, the lead car on the softs could well help him get one this time around.
Let's see if he can get past Scuba and capitalise on the extra grip he will have. Obviously, the medium tyres, difficult to warm up as they are, but in the slightly damp conditions in overcast weather, they're going to be even harder to warm up, and there's only really going to be 5 laps left in this race when we get going. So the soft tyres won't really lose any performance by the time we get to the end of the race. I was amazed that Siege didn't commit to the pit lane. Siege was further down than his championship rivals. He would have had to do something different, and in the end just didn't commit to anything really and just stayed out on the track. So Siege is probably the one that I'm most surprised by not coming in. I would have got it with Blizzard if more people stayed out, because he probably wouldn't want to take the risk and lose track position, but now he is at a massive disadvantage, so he might coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap. We'll have to wait and see if he stays out. We'll have to wait and see what he does, but I imagine we'll probably see them come in, and actually the safety car's not even come in yet, so safety car I think is going to be staying out for another lap, which means that if Blizzard and Siege do want to come in, they're going to have to do it now so that they don't lose as much time as they would if we were back to green flag racing.
They're going to come in now. They've got no option. They've got absolutely no option. If they stay out now, they're going to have 0 grip when the safety car comes in. They're going to have absolutely cooked their tyres. And they'll be very lucky to make it around the circuit, I think, possibly. Even at these speeds, I think they're going to be struggling at the moment. But here we go, Blizzard does come into the pit. Siege and Maze have to follow. They've got absolutely no choice whatsoever. And looking at Legend, he's coming up through Blanchimont and through the bus stop now. He might even get ahead of these guys. This could drop those 3 drivers to the back of the field.
Wow, so a really costly mistake here from both Siege Blizzard and Maze. And Maze is going to have to queue behind his teammate, so he's going to lose even more time. And actually, the 2 damn cars are close in the pit lane, so I wonder if this will block Blizzard in, I wonder, in the pit lane. I think Blizzard has just enough room to get out. So we've obviously seen Formula 1, if sometimes there's a double stack, it can block the car behind in the other pit stall. But Blizzard was able to just about get out with it enough of a gap ahead of Maze. But Blizzard now down in 7th from what could have been an easy race win. Blizzard has given himself all the work to do, whilst one of his closest championship rivals, Coutinho, is now at the front of the field.
Yeah, definitely. I don't. Once it had stopped raining, I think the safety car was staying out that extra lap. That gave you the confidence. The tyre conditions change incredibly quickly on this game. In the space of 5 minutes, it can go from being absolutely no chance of staying on the road on the slick tyres to bone dry. Especially around this circuit, where under the safety car, it's taking about 3 minutes a lap. He'll have them 1 lap fresher tyres, but realistically, it's probably only going to be about half a lap difference in tyres. We're going to have to see him make some severely good overtakes at this moment in time. The other question is going to be, for those guys on the medium tyres, especially Scuba in the lead of this race, is that going to prove to be a mistake? Will he be able to keep Coutinho behind him, or is this going to be a fairly straightforward pass for the Trident car once we get back up to green flag conditions, which, given the fact that Siege and Maze are a long way down the order, I hope it's this time around, but wouldn't surprise me if we've still got another lap to go.
Have to wait and see. Yeah, that Siege might be able to catch up the queue of the cars if the safety car does come in. We'll find out at the exit of the next corner, but if it does come in, we'll have 4 laps of racing, so those on the soft tyres won't have to worry about trying to make the soft tyres last, because they will definitely make it to the end from this point. And Coutinho is in the prime position to take his 4th sprint race victory of the season, his 5th overall. So let's see if he can pull this one off. He's definitely been, I'd say, the master of sprint races so far this season as Coutinho, but that's usually come from him being further down in the feature race because of mistakes. This time round, he's worked his way to the front, and with a bold strategy behind the safety car, it's put him right at the front of the field. So when does Scuba go behind this safety car? Is he going to go like we saw Blizzard do? Is he going to go right after the bus stop, or is he going to go before, like we saw Coutinho do? Let's wait and see as we now come to the start. He's keeping at a pretty high speed. It looks like he's going now. He's gone just before the bus stop chicane. So Scuba into the bus stop chicane on the brakes. Does he have enough temperature in those tyres? It looks pretty good. Blizzard and Legend have come into contact behind the safety car, and Legend's got a time penalty. I don't know if I saw Blizzard pick one up as well, but there was a brief pop-up before Legend, so I think Blizzard might have also picked up a time penalty and all that. So that's another thing that's going to drop him further down the field. Maze unfortunately wasn't able to catch the queue of cars before the safety car came in, but Scuba has a good restart, enough of a buffer maybe over Coutinho to hold on to the race lead coming down into the Lecom chicane. But can Scuba carry the speed up through Eau Rouge and Randy on the slightly damp conditions? It looks like he's just able to. Coutinho doesn't quite have the momentum to close in on Scuba coming up to Lecom. Scuba's still going to defend the inside line, try and break the toe. Coutinho is closing in very, very quickly. He's going to try and look maybe to the inside for the Lecom chicane, but he's not close enough, and Coutinho knows he has the tyre advantage, so he doesn't need to make any rash moves and make any errors in this race. He stays in second. Meanwhile, Blizzard trying to work his way round the outside. A Legend round the outside at Malmedy. Is he going to pull this one off down the hill? He is. So Blizzard passes Legend and is up into 6th place, already making moves, but I think with a time penalty hanging over his head.
Yeah, usually, I can't remember a situation where there's been a collision under a safety car that hasn't led to both drivers picking up a time penalty. So Blizzard needs to try and push out, but needs to be careful. With other pack close together, you don't want to pick up an extra 3-second time penalty, which might drop you down the order even more than already because of that 5-second penalty. It has been a great first lap, though, from Scuba, and it doesn't look like the tyres, as I say that, Blizzard does pick up a 3-second penalty, doesn't look like the difference in tyre compounds is actually having an effect at this moment in time, which is quite interesting to see. It's all going to change, of course. I think once the DRS comes into play, then maybe we'll see Coutinho go for the attack a bit more.
Yeah, he's just lagging back a little bit at the moment. Wesker in third place on the medium tyres, doing a good job of hanging on to these guys. Maybe Wesker will be able to pick up his podium this time around, currently running in third place. C3 is under pressure from Graham on the medium tyres, so the medium tyres performing pretty well. Graham looking to the inside, he's so late on the brakes coming into bus stop. Blizzard as well, nearly runs directly into the back of his teammate. Blizzard, I think, caught out by these two battling, nearly ploughs right into the back of his teammate, but just about moves out the way in time. Graham can't get the move done coming out of the bus stop, so Z-Freakster holds on to fourth place for the time being. Graham stays in fifth, trying to work his way back forwards after a poor start to this race in the wet conditions. Now coming on to lap 7 of this race, 3 laps to go. Coutinho's within DRS range, but DRS is not enabled until the next lap, so he's going to have to stick in behind unless he can get a good run through the top of Radion. But again, I think Scuba's done just enough to hold on to it coming down into Lecom. Coutinho once again tucking into the slipstream of the Campos car in front, but he doesn't look like he's going to be close enough into the chicane. Scuba holds on for the time being. Meanwhile, Blizzard trying to work his way forwards. He's now up and past Graham down into Lecom chicane. Graham sticks it down the inside. There's near contact, but they just about get away with it. Blizzard up into fifth place, but still with time penalties hanging over his head. And Z3 are now with one as well, which will at the moment put Graham ahead of the pair of them.
Yeah, Graham might be best just sitting back slightly, staying behind these, taking advantage of the slipstream. He always seems to be there or thereabouts in these races. When there's a safety car, always seems to benefit, and that's how he's actually got a pretty decent position in the championship at the moment. I mean, he's in fifth place. He's been at every race. He's only had one podium so far, but the consistency and the attendance has helped him get that fifth position at this moment in time. I am still really surprised that Coutinho hasn't been able to close all over the back of Scuba. He'll have DRS next lap, but we're probably already starting to head towards the point, definitely by the final lap, I'd say, when you get into the crossover where these soft tyres won't be as good as the mediums.
Yeah, Scuba looking very confident on the medium tyres, as is Wesker currently in third place. Blizzard trying to get past his teammate now, is down the inside towards Blanchimon. Z-Fixer doesn't make that one hard, so Blizzard up into fourth place now, trying to work his way towards Wesker for podium on the road at least. He's got about a 1.5 second gap up to Wesker. Z-Fixer maybe trying to come back at his teammate, but not quite close enough in the braking zone. They all Constantine up a little bit, but Blizzard holds on to fourth for the time being. Siege, meanwhile, he joined the back of the queue at the safety car restart, but hasn't done anything with it. He's stuck in 8th place at the moment, not within DRS range of Legends, so Siege stuck in 8th, not being able to work his way forwards. Scuba, meanwhile, rounds to the source. He's just over a second ahead, is he? No, Coutinho just gets back within DRS range as they come down the hill, so Coutinho will have DRS, but only just. Scuba on those medium tyres looking very, very fast, and Coutinho with an 8/10 gap at the top of Radion is not close enough to make a move into Lake Armor. And like you said, I'm really surprised that Coutinho just, at the moment, doesn't seem to have the pace to be able to crawl all over the back of the Campos man.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know whether either of these drivers made any changes to their front wing in the pit lane, which you are allowed to do, of course. Maybe just to change the balance slightly for the dry conditions, because Scuba seems to be absolutely flying at the moment. Wesker's doing a very decent job on those mediums as well. Going back to Siege, though, I expected him to be the one after the restart. Because he was able to go around at pretty much racing speed, his tyres should have been up to temperature on the restart, and I really expected him to be the guy moving up the order, perhaps in a similar fashion to what we've seen Blizzard do, but for whatever reason, Siege hasn't been able to do that, and this has been a bit of a meeting to forget, to be honest, this Belgian round. He'll be hoping to hit the form back on in Italy, because he's not had too many victories so far this season. He was looking really good at one point, but it's been a much better race weekend for Blizzard and Coutinho than it has for Siege at the moment.
It really has, yeah, the momentum swinging back with Blizzard and Coutinho at the moment. Blizzard within half a second of Wesker in front, but again, Blizzard does have a time penalty, so at the moment this isn't going to be for a podium position. Graham trying to pass Z3 on track, is looking for another move on the Carly man, coming up towards Blanchimon. Can he get towards the inside for the corner? Not quite close enough, he sticks directly behind the Carly man. Does he look to the inside before the bus stop chicane? He looks down the inside, is going to go late on the brakes. Blizzard, meanwhile, in front has worked his way past Wesker for third on the road, and Wesker picks up a 3-second time penalty himself, which is actually going to possibly cost him the podium to Graham at the moment, who's the only one at the moment that's got a clean record behind him, I believe. Graham looking towards the inside for the source, but doesn't go for the move. I think waiting for the DRS coming down towards the Lake Common chicane. We're on to the final lap of the race. Graham has a massive slide coming out of the hairpin. That's going to affect his run, and here comes Legend trying to work his way onto the back of these guys as well. We'll go to the race leaders. Coutinho's within DRS range once again. It's half a second. Is he close enough down into Lake On? This is probably one of his last, if not the last opportunity Coutinho has to try and take the lead off Scuba. He looks towards the outside, but Scuba is far enough ahead ahead into the chicane's braking zone to hold the race lead, and Coutinho still can't get up into the race lead. Graham, contact further back. Legend and Graham have made contact. Graham misses the chicane completely, and Legend has spun the car, and that means that I think Wesker's podium here might be saved because of that.
Yeah, I think there was just a bit of confusion there. It was Graham catching Z-Freakster up at a tremendous rate of knots, and Legend was doing the same. I think there was just a bit of tiny contact just before the braking zone, which caused Graham to miss the chicane, and then Legend getting ahead of Z-Freakster. I don't think Z-Freakster, to be fair, realised Legend was there, and that just spun Legend around in the Trident car. So that obviously is promoting Siege up now into 7th place. Despite not being the greatest sprint race, he might gain a bit of time on the penalties here. Out in front, though, as they're coming around Stavolo for the final time. Scuba still pushing hard, still leading this race, and it looks like it is going to be his first victory since the feature race in Spain.
Wow, it's been a long time coming for Scuba. He's really had the pace this season. Unfortunately, just spotty attendance and some bad luck in other races means that he's not really in the championship fight at the moment, which is a shame to see. But what a performance on the medium tyres it's been from Scuba to hold off Coutinho in this race. Didn't have the pace on the softs. Scuba is going to take the sprint race victory here. What a drive from him. Coutinho, 2 second places in a row. He can't take the win away. Wesker's going to get onto the podium. Can anyone steal it off of him? Blizzard and C3 serve their time penalties. Graham up into 4th, Siege up into 5th again on penalties, 2 races in a row where he works his way up into 5th and does outscore Blizzard in the end by 1. He gets 1 place ahead of Blizzard, so he does gain something back at least in the sprint race. But that is a brilliant drive from Scuba to hold Coutinho off on those medium tyres, and he takes his first race win since Spain.
Yeah, all credit to Scuba. I did think when he'd gone for those medium tyres, I thought it was the one call. I thought Coutinho would just be able to get past him straight away, but Scuba got the restart absolutely perfect, built a gap, and then once the tyres got up to temperature, got to say there was never really a point where it looked like Coutinho, was going to get ahead of him. But a great result from Scuba to get the victory. Coutinho with 2 second places, and shout out to Wesker as well, first podium of the season. Yeah,
Wesker on a roll at the moment. He had a 4th and a 3rd in this weekend, and it's definitely his best race event so far this season. So he's working his way steadily up the championship in the top 10. So let's see where he can finish by the end of the season. He can maybe challenge the likes of Graham and that for a top 5 in the championship standings. But here is the final sprint race order then. Scuba wins the race in the end. Great stuff from him. Coutinho in 2nd place. 2 second places. He'll be happy with that. He'll be probably... It's a little bit of a bittersweet taste for him. 2 second places, but wasn't quite able to take the race wins in either the feature or the sprint race. Wesker, his first podium of the season, in 3rd ahead of Graham in 4th. Good result from him once again. Siege in 5th ahead of Blizzard in 6th. Those penalties at the end really cost him a podium position. C3 in 7th in the 2nd. Carlin ahead of Legend in 8th place. What could have been for him, but 2 spins for him that we would say weren't really his fault. He's down in 8th after what could have been a top 5 for him as well. Mays in 9th. He was the last finisher. JD, Nolan, Adamako, Invictus and Honeybadger all retired on the first lap. So it was a race of attrition in the end, and Scuba's the one that came out on top.
Yeah, definitely worked his way up the field pretty well early on. Was obviously leading this race in a great position. Went for the pit stop at the right time, and it all worked out perfectly. I wonder how much Blizzard is ruining. Obviously not going for that pit stop earlier on. If he'd gone for it the same lap as Scuba, he'd have been just behind him. Then obviously he's picked up a 5 second penalty. He hasn't served that. He might have a chance of getting that removed depending on how it goes with the steward. So could still salvage a podium out of this. But again, Siege has somehow managed to work his way up ahead of him. He always seems to do this quite a few times, especially in the early stages of this season. We never really spoke about Siege, but because he keeps it clean, he's just keeping in that championship hunt. And if we get these races where there are late safety cars, it's always going to benefit those drivers who can keep it nice and clean.
Yeah, definitely. I think Siege will be unhappy at the fact, though, that he didn't really have the pace today to challenge at the front of the field. He didn't really look like he would be podium contention in either race, even without the problems that he had in both races. He didn't quite seem to have the pace to be a podium contender today, so hopefully looking to bounce back pace-wise at least at Italy. And it's fair to say that Italy is a completely different track to this one, and again another one that's going to provide really, really good racing.
Yeah, certainly. Italy, if the drivers could get away without a front wing or a rear wing, you'd do that around this circuit. It's so quick. which could make it very interesting if we get a wet race or a wet dry race like we saw today. That could definitely spice things up ever so slightly. I'm really looking forward to Italy and seeing how some of the drivers do who perhaps didn't have the greatest round today, like Siege, Legend. Managed to do okay in the first race, but the sprint race I think will be one to forget for him, and Honey Badger as well, not making it around the first lap in either race. Arguably, neither of the incidents his fault. He's going to be frustrated. He's going to want to prove that he's a really fast driver next time around.
Definitely, and it's been such an unlucky season for Honey Badger. He'll want to at least end the season off on a high, try and pick up at least another win before the season ends. But that is where we are going to end the stream today, guys. Thank you everyone for tuning into the stream, for commenting on the stream throughout. Thank you everyone for taking part in the race today as well, and thank you again, Luke, for joining me in the commentary box. Always a pleasure to commentate alongside you for TTML Formula 2. Tune into League Racing TV for the rest of the week. Divisions 2 and 3 are on tomorrow at 8 PM, and at 8 PM on Friday we have Divisions 4 and 5. We are racing at Italy on both days, so tune into those. I'm sure they're going to be very, very good races to watch, and Italy, obviously, like we said, is one of the best tracks of the season for racing. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and from myself and Luke, it is goodbye.